Welcome back. Anyway, shall we find out what's going on in the cinemas? Well, I'll tell you what's going on in the cinemas. Absolutely naff all, but hey, everyone's home is a cinema now, isn't that right, Mr. Van Connor?
It absolutely is, Mr. East, as you well know.
How you doing?
I can't complain, like you say. I mean, if our homes are cinemas now, then it basically means I'm just living in the multiplex 24/7, which, is how I always saw my life going eventually.
The popcorn's cheaper as well.
It really is, I have to say that.
Have you been keeping out? I've not spoken to you for donkeys. We used to see each other 2 or 3 times a week.
I know. I tell you, I'm really missing our times in cinema screens together, laughing at some comedy or taking in some glorious, mindless blockbuster together, as we've spent so many afternoons doing over the years. It seems an age now, doesn't it?
It does seem like a long time. I do miss my film critic friends. It's part of my life that I do very much enjoy. So, what have you been watching this week? What's been going on?
Well, actually, we had an interesting new addition to Amazon Prime, though. This is not really a newie, but a goodie. So what they did on Amazon Prime on Friday was they added the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy and all 3 original Oceans movies at the same time. So massive trilogies on there for our viewing pleasure. I'm still not entirely sure which version of Lord of the Rings is on there, though, to be realised. Is it the 4-hour extended versions, or are they the theatrical cuts? Because
I've never watched. I don't know what version of it I've watched. I think I've just watched the regular one.
If you have to stop halfway through,
what's the difference?
Change the disc. They're longer. That's what it is. But Peter Jackson just.
Is that it? Are they better though?
I think so. They do flesh things out. There are certain character arcs that get a little bit more time to breathe. There's a lot of stuff, for instance, with Boromir and Faramir in the Lord of the Rings extended editions that you don't get the theatrical cuts. And like I say, if you're not looking for a good old-fashioned fantasy epic, there's always the good old Oceans movies. George Clooney and Brad Pitt, and Matt Damon and Scott Caan and all those guys. Bernie Mac and.
Remind me. So obviously, Ocean's 11 was a stone cold classic and was absolutely amazing. Which one was the dreadful one with Julia Roberts in the where she plays herself or something?
That is Ocean's 12. That is terrible.
Yeah, that's not great, is it?
No, not at all. That's the one with Catherine Zeta-Jones, isn't it, as well?
That's it. Yes, you're right.
And if memory serves, I believe the entire Arsenal squad from 2003, 2004 turn up as themselves in it as well.
What? I don't know. My mind has blocked out a lot of this film.
Well, now you know. There is a good solid chance that Arsene Wenger is in Ocean's 12.
And 13, was that? I can't even remember if that was any good or not. Did they claw it back?
That was the one with Al Pacino as the villain, and they took it back to Vegas. I mean, it wasn't...
Oh, okay.
Yes. No, none of these are as good as Ocean's 8 anyway, if you ask me, but that's streaming, I don't believe.
Okay, fine. Yeah, in fact, do you know what? I found a copy of Ocean's 8 that I must have been sent. Maybe I'll give that away. If anyone wants a copy of Ocean's 8, first person to tweet in gets a Blu-ray of Ocean's 8. There you go. Tweet at talkRADIO. Okay, so that's enough to last you a whole week anyway. But should you need anything else other than the Lord of the Rings and the Oceans trilogy, what would you go for?
A couple of. I mean, there's one premiered on Netflix this past week, Extraction, with Chris Hemsworth. You may have caught this in passing, I think, because there was nothing really out last week, so Extraction got a lot of coverage that it wouldn't normally have gotten. It is written by one of the Russo brothers. It's produced by both of the Russo brothers and stars Chris Hemsworth as the brilliantly named Tyler Rake, a mercenary who basically has to exact the plot of 16 blocks and transport a child sort of target through an absolute war zone. It's fast, it's brutal, it's harsh, the script is drivel, but it's still entertaining. It's a good time. That's worth checking out. That's out on Netflix right now. That's called Extraction. And worth it just to watch an action movie about a man named Tyler Rake. Seriously.
Jolly good. Okay.
There is also, I believe this premieres on Netflix on Tuesday. There's Ophelia. If you're looking for something a bit more highbrow, this is basically a new take on Hamlet, starring Daisy Ridley, and the idea is it's Hamlet from the point of view of Ophelia. So it's reframed the narrative from the female point of view. So whole different take.
Okay, interesting.
With none other than Ray Skywalker to take you through it.
And is it still set in Shakespearean times, or is it modern day? Is it a modern day take?
Thankfully, no. I think that's one reinvention too far in this case. So they have mercifully kept the period setting on there as well.
Oh, okay, fine, got you. Okay. Did you catch The Assistant?
I did catch this. No, it's funny, I was going to mention that as well. That is available on video on demand. That's a premium VOD release this week, so on digital kind of thing, so you buy or rent. I didn't rate it, if I'm really honest.
Did you not like it? Oh, okay.
Great looking film, very sexy, very Soderbergh, and Julia Garner's performance, I think, is absolutely tremendous in there.
Yeah.
But I just think, there's... I know it's obviously it's quite an important film in terms of the things it has to say. The problem is I don't think the film's particularly any good. It's not particularly gripping. I wasn't engaged. I wasn't entertained. I wasn't involved. I wasn't captivated by it, other than Julia Garner's performance, which I do have to give it props for, and Kitty Green's rather stylish direction.
Did you not even like the scene with Matthew McFadden?
I like Matthew McFadden always. I mean, he's still my favourite Darcy, but nothing about the film particularly gripped me at any point. I think at one point I checked my watch, it had been 27 minutes, and I worked out there'd been about 7 lines of dialogue.
Yeah,
and
it is. Yeah, it is quite. It is quite slow. It is quite slow.
Quite a slow burner.
Fine. All right. I mean, I have to say, I quite enjoyed it. So if you want to go and it's there, like you say, it's on video streaming services as well. I mean, it's an art house film really. So don't go expecting.
Most definitely, yeah.
Anything else floating your boat?
Well, there is of course one film that's been unexpectedly released on digital this past week that I was a very big fan of, and I think you might have seen this as well just before we had the shutdown, which was Calm with Horses. Did you have the pleasure of that?
Yeah. I love Calm with Horses. In fact, I hosted Curzon's premiere for it on whenever it was, Tuesday, with the cast. Yeah, I love it.
You're intimately involved. Great movie. Really great movie. Sort of Irish gangster drama, really, I would say. But Cosmo Jarvis from Lady Macbeth a few years ago, he started Lady Macbeth with Florence Pugh. I remember seeing Lady Macbeth and saying both of these two are going to be huge. It turned out I was half right. And I'm still waiting on Cosmo Jarvis, and this film is absolutely tremendous. I think he's brilliant in it. I would like to see this be the next stage of him going down that sort of springboarding of his career like Florence Pugh had. Great performance in there from Barry Keoghan as well. Big fan of him. You might remember him from The Killing of a Sacred Deer and Dune.
Yeah. He's one of my favourite actors.
But a really great movie. I mean, you'll have seen it. You presumably love this as much as I do.
Yeah, it's kind of like... I'm just trying to think of a film to kind of compare it to. It's pretty bleak, but it's based around, goodness, I don't really know how to describe it. It's very violent. It's a thriller. It's pretty impenetrable. But like you say, Cosmo Jarvis is brilliant as Neil Valgar.
Huge. The man is shredded in this.
She was on the show last week talking about it, and yeah, it's just a brilliant film. It's just really good.
Really great movie. In fact, I would make comparisons between it and something like American History X. I think it has something of a pedigree there, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly that. About someone stuck in a situation, stuck in a moment they can't get out of, really. But yeah, perfect. Loads of food for thought there, Van. Thank you very much, buddy.
Anytime, Mr. East.
Lovely stuff, and we'll speak to you soon, I would imagine. Hopefully see you in a screening room at some point in the near future. Probably from afar, though, let's be honest.
6 feet away, but it'll be my pleasure, sir.
Absolutely. Take care, Van. Thank you very much, mate. There you go. Loads of stuff to get your eyes around this week. Lord of the Rings, Calm with Horses, Ocean's 8, Extraction, The Assistant. What more do you want? Okay, right, we're going to head off and come back. We're going to be talking to...